Hi, today we're doing an experiment. So let me explain to you what we have and then I'll tell you what we're going to do. These are a couple NuTone IS45 inside remote stations. The IS45s originally came out in 1974 and they were all new, and they went with the all new, at that time, NuTone IM406 intercom system. That was the first intercom system that had both inside and patio talk and listen and door speaker talk and listen buttons. And these particular examples were both made in 1975. These were sent to me by a customer who is having me rebuild his NuTone SM428 stereo master station. And yes, the IS45s are compatible with the SM428. They are for the locations in the house that have monaural speakers instead of two stereo speakers. These are both in really bad condition. The grills have yellowed excessively. We're going to see if we can do something with them to make them usable again. The customer has already said that he will replace these. We have new old stock replacements for them that are they're brand new, so they look like they're brand new. But I wanted to see if there was any hope for speakers like this, because the yellowing that's happened here happens on all of these over time, just like all the other speakers that they make. If they can be re-whitened successfully, that's an option for people who want to keep their systems but don't like the way it looks. Now, when these were brand new, these were not white. They didn't make white speakers in 1974 or 1975. In fact, they didn't make white speakers until you get to about, I guess pretty much it would be about 1986 or 7 or so before we had white speakers. So these were ivory speakers to start with. And let me show you an example of what they would have looked like when they were brand new. So we'll go ahead and take this one away. This is the worst one. This is much more discolored than this one is. And you think, oh, that one's not too bad. That's kind of ivory. That's probably okay. Trust me, it's not. So what we'll do is we'll move this one out of the way and we'll put its cousin right here. And this is an ISA45. This is the updated version. This one is from 1980, and the ISA85s, the A meaning it's the first revision, they are completely interchangeable, but you'll notice there are some subtle differences. The volume controls are on the opposite sides. These have the big chunky chrome volume knobs. These have the black knobs with the stainless insert in the end. And the intercom buttons on these, same four functions: inside patio talk and listen, door speaker talk and listen. But these buttons go down and up and down and up and down and up like this. And we'll see if we can prop this up here. And these buttons go in and out, in and out, in and out. So it's a completely different switchboard arrangement. So this is what this would have looked like color-wise when it was brand new. And you can see when you compare, this one's really horribly yellowed. They both have the faux wood graining. The wood graining on the original IS45s, it's a nicer wood grain that they did later on. It has more of that burled walnutty kind of look. This is a little different, less definition, not, it's style of the day. This has a little more chrome trim on the edges where this has the brown. They're just subtly different things, but it's the color that we're most interested in. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to take this one because it's the worst of the two. I have to do some re-whitening of another customer's speaker grills, and I have extra room in the whitening tank, so now's a good time to try. So I'm going to take this all apart. I'm going to clean all the paint and junk off of it that's on the outside, and I'm going to put it in the whitening tank and leave it in there for at least 24 hours. I'm guessing it probably will be longer than that. I'm guessing it could be as much as 36 hours because it's so incredibly yellowed, but I don't know exactly because it depends somewhat on the formula of the plastic and how the yellowing adheres or changes the surface of the plastic, and we'll have to wait and see. But we'll know after 24 hours pretty much how I think it's going to go. So this is sort of part one of this, and it's just an experiment to see what happens, because the customer is going to buy a bunch of these that we have because he wants everything to look as new as possible, and this is a good choice and we have them now, so he can do that. So this is part one. I'll be back later on and show you what the end result is. See ya. Hi, I'm back. It's been 2 days since I shot the first part of this video where I showed you two really yellowed and really used NuTone IS45 inside remote stations. We chose the worst of the two to put in the re-whitening tank to see what we would get out of it. So this was the other one, the other IS45. 45 that we didn't use. This was the better of the two, and you can always go back and look at the other one and see how bad it really was. This was our example of a new old stock ISA45, so this is as close to brand new as you'll ever find in 2019. The re-whitening is done, and I was actually quite surprised about how it turned out. So it was in the whitening tank. I left it in for 36 hours, which is about the maximum amount of time that you can really leave something in the chemicals. Otherwise, it can affect the surface of the plastic. Although the plastic on these is very sturdy, so that wasn't too big of a concern. But after 36 hours, there's a diminishing return for the amount of time it's in the chemicals. So are you ready? You want to see it? I know you do. So here it comes. Wait, there's the back. We're going to flip it around so you can see it. And there's the re-whitened IS45. Now, you'll notice that it looks very different than this one and this one. I'm going to give you a second or two to think about why it looks different. It's not because it's not yellowed anymore, it's more than that. Well, what happened, one of the byproducts of the re-whitening was it pretty much dissolved away the brown wood grain look that was around the control knobs. When it came out of the tank after 24 hours, there were little splotchy areas in the brown. I actually washed it all off at that point to get the chemicals off. I washed all the chemicals off of it at that point. I wanted to see how the whitening really was going, and I realized that just with a little bit of wiping with a sponge, it just came right off. The consensus here was that it's not really a great loss because the wood grain, the faux wood burled walnut look thing that goes on here, it dates it quite a bit. And before I put it back in the whitening tank for its next 12 hours, I spent a little bit of time and I used a Scotch-Brite pad and I took all the brown off. Now there were a few areas where the plastic appeared as if all the finish came off, but it might have been stained a little bit from however the finish was applied. But when it went back in the re-whitening tank, I was pretty sure that the chemicals would bleach out the discoloration, which it did. The end result is this, and this is actually very good. In fact, in some respects, let's do it this way. We'll bring that one back in a second. If we put these two next to each other, you can see the stark difference between what was the better of the two to start with, and now the worst of the two looks like this, which is pretty good. I'm very happy with that. If we take this one away and we put our new old stock one next to it, this is actually probably a little bit brighter and a little bit lighter in color than even this one is. Now, even though this is new old stock and this has been sitting in its box since it was made like in 1980, it probably has shifted in color somewhat. It's not the dead-on original, March 1980 color. I'm sure it's darkened up a little bit, but this looks very, very good. And I don't think not having the wood grain is too much of a problem. This is very reminiscent of a model. It would be an IS21. An IS21 is the same era as this, is early 70s, and it's a remote station that's used with the IM203 system. And because the 203 was an economy builder entry-level model, it has a speaker. The styling is the same as this. It has less buttons, less controls on it, but it just has one intercom button and a volume control like this. They never had any of the faux wood grain look on them because it was a less expensive system, a less expensive speaker, and I'm sure having the wood graining done is one more step in the manufacturing, and if you can save a few pennies on every one you're going to make, that's okay, because it was the entry-level model, so that was good. So it's very reminiscent of that. If we bring back our other original ISA45, some of the other things that happens, which some of it I expected, was you can see here around the raised edge of the control area, it has this plastic chrome plating stuff they used to do a lot. And also the NuTone name where it says Scoville is also chrome plated. With almost any chrome plating like this on plastic, during the re-whitening process, the chemicals dissolve the whatever the adhesive is that holds this to the surface of the plastic, and when it comes out, most of it has dissolved and floated away, and what little bit it remains when you clean it off, it just washes away. So we don't have any chrome on it. I don't know if that's a deficit or not. Probably not. Most people would never know. Even if the chrome is missing, this still looks better than that. The other thing, which is something I'm going to work on to see if we can do something about, is you can see on this one you have the labeling for what each of the control buttons are for. Here it says volume, and we have door speakers, talk and listen, and inside patio speakers, talk and listen. And the way this is done is the letters are actually recessed into the plastic. They're like below the surface of the plastic, and then when the brown was put over the surface of this area, it doesn't go into the recessed letter openings. You see the plastic color underneath, and that's how it makes it easy to see. On this one, you can make out what the words are by just the recesses in the plastic for each letter, but it doesn't stand out all that much. And again, it's sort of around here, it's 50-50 on what people think about that. Some people think it doesn't really matter. Some people think that, well, it may be hard for some people to read, and that could possibly be a problem. So if I hold this up, you might be able to see a little better how you can see, I think, the writing underneath. And it doesn't really stand out other than just sort of the little bit of kind of shadowy thing you get on the edges of the letters. So I think what I might try is to see if I can find a proper way to apply a little bit of color to the recessed portions of the letters to make them stand out a little more. It would be simple enough. For instance, with the NuTone name here, which is raised letters, it's simple enough to simply paint the top edges of the word, and then they stand out really well. We do that on NuTone apartment house stations and things like that. So that's easy. The recessed letters, that's might be a little trickier because, of course, you can't get paint on the surface of the panel. It's got to just be in the letters. So whatever it would be, you would have to apply it so it sort of flows into the recessed letters and then wipe off the surface without messing up the panel or having it, whatever the product is that fills up the letters, have it stain the plastic or something like that. In the end, it may end up being that it doesn't really matter at all. It looks pretty good with its black buttons and the chrome knob with the black center in it. It could also be that this would look better. These knobs, these are the original style knobs, and they are a little bit big and a little bit clunky looking, and it might be possible to find generic replacement knobs that were maybe all black or something and a little smaller in size, so it would seem to not stick out so far. That's just me. Maybe nobody else cares. But I certainly think that if you had a house full of 6 or 8 of these and we could get them to look like this, I think you'd be pretty happy. So that was the end result. I was quite surprised. It turned out actually much better than I would have imagined. I hope you found this interesting, and perhaps it'll be helpful to some of you. If it is, and it would be, and it does, give it a thumbs up on YouTube, because that always helps. Why do thumbs ups always help? Well, because YouTube keeps track of how many thumbs up you get on your videos, and the more thumbs up you get, the more they suggest your videos to other people, and that makes them more popular, and that makes them more worthwhile to do. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell or on the wheel, put in your email address, and every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.